Modern Warfare 3 Zombies really feels like a collection of what we could have had. Now, personally, I think zombies should have just stayed out of Modern Warfare. I love zombies, but I think it should have just stayed out of it and stuck with Spec Ops. I think it's pretty good to take time to develop these things, and I think it's good to take a break to come up with good ideas. But it really seems like, based on what I know, the publishers will often force the development team to a certain deadline, and that's when we get stuff like this that doesn't have the passion that the old games had. So I'm now going to be talking about why I personally do not like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies and why I think it might be the worst Call of Duty Zombies mode I've ever played. I know a lot of people say Vanguard, but I personally haven't played Vanguard, so yeah, anyway, I'm going to get straight into this. So I'm going to start with talking about the map. The map in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is pretty big, and there's only one map, but you shouldn't get your hopes up that it's a big map because it's actually way too big, and it's the Warzone map, Urgikstan, which is meant for 100 plus players and goes against everything that Call of Duty Zombies is supposed to be. So that fast-paced, intense gameplay that Call of Duty Zombies is known for pretty much just isn't there because the map is so big and spread out that those moments of being inside in a claustrophobic small area, squeezing around tight corners and stuff like that while you're being chased by zombies, it just isn't really there. The game mode only feels intense if you make it intense, if that makes any sense. There is also a time limit on this game mode. You have 45 minutes to have fun, and then you have to exfil because this ether storm starts growing and eventually forces you to exfil the map. I have no problem with exfilling if you can do it whenever you want, kind of like in Black Ops Cold War. I do think it's a little creative that this storm thing grows instead of shrinking you in like your typical battle royale, but at the same time it would have been more intense if the storm was shrinking you in and eventually you got forced into the second tier and the high tier or whatever. But that's besides the point. So this really big map and that plus a time limit means that the progression is really bad. It's either way too slow or way too fast. Now there's two ways to kind of progress your setup in zombies. You can do it the old-fashioned way, gain points and eventually buy your perks and pack-a-punch. But considering that you only get like 10 points per zombie kills, the game forces you to do these contracts. But that would be way too slow. So by the time you have your setup, it's time for you to exfil. The other way is by using schematics, which is basically things in your inventory. You can use them instantly and get your perks and like triple pack-a-punch if you have it at the very beginning of the game. And that's way too fast, while the other way is way too slow. There is also only 3 tier zones, basically 3 rounds. This is not round-based zombies, but there is tier 1, which feels like round 4 or 5, tier 2, which is basically like round 15, and tier 3 kind of feels like round 50. A lot of the times it feels like tier 2 is too easy, tier 3 is too hard. And I will admit, when you're playing and just like playing in tier 1 and chilling and talking to your friends, it is pretty chill, and that's something I can't hate on, so I will admit that's, pretty fun to do every now and then. There is also bad guys with guns or mercenaries in the zombies mode, which doesn't make any sense. This is a zombies mode. There shouldn't be bad guys shooting at you with guns. It didn't say Spec Ops and zombies mixed together in that little rectangle that you click on to play the game mode. It didn't say Nightmare mode from Black Ops 3. This is zombies, but still you'll find mercenaries at these camps. They'll have these CUAVs and sentry guns set up, which is pretty annoying. So I'm now going to talk about, I guess, what is the main ingredient of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and that is doing these contracts. So first off, there's the bounty. This one's very popular, and I think it's because it'll help people get camos for their guns. but you go and fight a Mangler or a Mimic or a Mega Abomination if you're in tier 3, or a Disciple. And all 3 of those bosses are from Black Ops Cold War, so we don't even have a new boss besides that big worm you fight in the story missions. And I have not played all of those, so I can't really speak on those. Next up is the Weapon Stash contract. This one's pretty fun because it actually kind of feels like the old Zombies. You gotta stay in this small area and defend it until eventually you fill up this progression bar, and then that's it. The Ether Extraction contract is definitely the worst because there's a time limit and you gotta destroy these rockets that are being defended by bad guys with guns, which is something that just shouldn't be in Zombies. That should just be like Spec Ops or something. Cargo delivery, that one I don't really like because it's just too easy. You just get in a vehicle and drive it to this other place. A helicopter chases you, but it's not that threatening if you know how to drive. Defend ground station, I don't like this one either because it involves more bad guys with guns coming at you, and these guys will pop smokes and come from helicopters with their shields or snipers. Some of them will have swords. It's pretty annoying. The Spore contract is one of my favorites. I don't know why, but I've always enjoyed this one a lot. You set down these inhibitors by these spores, and that'll get rid of the protective shell around these spore things you need to kill. And once that goes away, you can destroy them. The Outlast contract is very similar to Weapon Stash. You just defend a certain area. Escort is also another one of my favorites. You just escort this vehicle to these things, and yeah. And while you're escorting it, you just defend it from zombies. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I would rather play instead of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Because I feel like there's other game modes in Call of Duty that I feel like are better than the things that are in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and it doesn't do a great job of particularly anything. But I'm going to go ahead and name some examples of certain elements from this mode that I like, but could have been much better if they were their own separate thing and not all combined into this one package. Now, I know I kind of talk shit about the big map in Call of Duty Zombies, but I think a big map could be interesting if done right. For example, let's look at Black Ops Cold War's Outbreak mode, which involved you fighting on a large ground war map. So it's smaller than the map that we have in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And there's also rounds. It's round based. In each round you go to a new area. So you get to see new areas, and it gets more difficult as you go on. So I like the idea of having a big map and vehicles that you can ride around in a Zombies game, but it's already been done better in Black Ops Cold War. The next thing that I want to talk about is having more than 4 players in Zombies. This is something that I didn't really mention in this video, but there's 24 players in the Zombies mode in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Even with the 24 players and Zombies, it still feels empty at times because the map is so big. Now, if you've ever played Grief mode from Black Ops 2, you would know that it is pretty fun and hectic to have 8 people running around shooting zombies, because that's what Grief mode was. It was a 4 versus 4 against zombies to see who could survive the longest. I also did like the idea of having mercenaries or bad guys with guns and fighting zombies at the same time. I know this is also something that I stated to really not like, but if it was its own thing, it would be an interesting experiment. And that's already been done as well in Black Ops 3's Nightmare mode, which was just an add-on mode that no one really remembers because it was just a campaign but with zombies. But I can appreciate that it was there and that they were trying something different at the time. I also like the idea of having an objective in Call of Duty Zombies. I know most people just want to kill zombies, you know, myself included, but if you have an objective and it's implemented right into the game, then it might not be that bad, kind of like in Mob of the Dead from Black Ops 2. So there was 4 elements from this zombies mode that I did like. Having a big map, having more than 4 players, having bad guys with guns, and having an objective rather than your objective just being to survive. So it actually feels like you're doing something. But those 4 things have already been done better in previous zombie games. So it really doesn't feel like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is doing anything fun. But that's about all that I have to talk about for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Hopefully Black Ops 6 Zombies will be better, and yeah.